And so I'm ready to go. And I hope you're ready to go. And I hope that way of introduction, kind of gives you an idea of where we're going to go. In November, I want to unpack some more. I'll give you some more understanding about how this is all coming, how to identify, confront, and overcome dark agendas in our area. But also how to pray for the open door for the gospel, right? And so we can begin here, and as you go to wherever you're representing or wherever you're from, and begin to bring that emphasis in, right? And begin to be wise and understanding of the time and what God is doing. So if there ever was a time to be, it's not like we're 200 years ago praying for an awakening. We're like, we got to have this thing, right? It has to happen. And intercession needs to come to another level. It's been in development for a long time, and we've been making great strides, I think. And have been coming a long ways with understanding how to pray effectively, how to map, how to target, how to infiltrate. But really, can I just say, even as good as it is, it still needs to come up another level, because it needs to come into the understanding of the big picture. And so it needs to become almost proactive rather than reactive in the sense of intercession. And that's why it says, be sober, be watchful, be alert, see what's coming, and then be intent to do something about what you see is coming. In other words, stop it, right? Cut it off. And then as you shut that off, pray as that portal of wickedness and that influence wanes and ceases, then open up the other door, the window, the portal of heaven for the preaching of the gospel and the advancement of the kingdom, healing the sick, saving his souls, right? Signs, wonders, miracles, that kind of thing. All right, so you with me this morning?
Yes.
I try not to speak too long because I want to hear from all of you. So, come back in November.
How about October?
Or whatever. Sure.
Before Halloween.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been up to, and that's what I see us doing as a group, and really making a difference. And trust me, a group this size can make a huge difference. And so I see where the Lord had me write dominion surges, the proclamations, prayers, decrees. I see where the Lord had me write the Nephilim agenda and other things. I can see that God's really laying out for our ministry in our life, and I believe this area where we are, a strategy, to overcome. And I believe that's why it's really important that we all go down and pray in April over our capital and plead the blood of Christ over our capital in Austin.
Yeah.
I can see God saying, if you'll just rise up and do this, I'll take care of this for you, and I'll open, the windows of heaven for you. And so we have to be up for our assignment, and we cannot be weary, as it says here, do not become weary. Because we can, honestly. You can get weary. I've been weary. I've been up, I've been down, but I'm up right now, so I feel pretty good. So I'd like to hear from some of you, if you'd like to just take a few minutes and share with all of us what you've been hearing or doing, what you've been praying, something along those lines. If you can just kind of, brief us all a little bit so we can get a sense of what you've all been up to. And so if you'd like to share just maybe a minute or two, not too long, that'd be good. And then maybe we'll just have some time to pray. Because that's what we're all about, right? Okay, so who'd like to share a little bit? This is Nevada. Awesome.
In 2003, I was given an open vision. I didn't understand what an open vision was, but I had been spending time in prayer and soaking in the Lord and cutting myself off. And I was sitting in a chair, and it was like I was having a dream, but I was awake, and I saw green helmets and fire and this wire that they hold people in with, and I saw Walmarts and stuff being used as human prisons, and there's lots of destruction, but it revealed to me that it was like martial law. And then at the same time this was going on through the months, I saw people that weren't people, and I didn't understand they're called Nephilim or what that was, but I was bold and I would talk out of the side of my mouth about God, and it made them king on who I was, and they so I began to see even more. Then I met this girl, and she had been with this group of people, and they were buying the babies. When they were giving them, they were crack addicts, and they were buying the babies, and she would watch them take them to the headquarters of the Boy Scouts. It's the largest headquarters. I think it's their main headquarters is in Granbury, and it was because it was so concentrated there. I saw more of them, and they saw me because I was different. It was very scary. I felt like I was the only one that knew these things that were coming, and it was such a long time ago. And then I was brought into Miss Buckland's home and shared with her these visions, and she said, "You're not the only one." So he is bringing everybody together. But they hang out where the water is, where there's large bodies of water, the Nephilim, and they come out at night. I guess that's who they are, because it seems logical now. But so it is true and real in the military, and they're also using hospitals to shut down. To me, it's a confirmation. I shared it with one people, and actually went to Austin State Hospital because I shared it through my referrals from First Line.
Yeah. So that's why I obviously thought I'd be a way to share with you all. So we had to kind of get someplace. Thank you, Nevada. You know, the truth of the matter is Jesus said in the parable of the sower that, you know, it's always about two seeds, you know, two entities, so forth, but it's always one field. But this is the key. It says that they went out and sowed tares at night in darkness, right? So the tares are always sowed in the night season, and so there's a lot to it. Yeah.
And I even saw like the game around the area were in such food that they were running and taking off.
Mm-hmm.
Like the foxes, there was fox and animals that were running, and I was outside by the water, and I could see these things manifesting. It's very interesting, but it was kind of scary.
Thank you. All right, someone else? Okay.
Just affirming, you know, one thing God began to speak to me is the church had to shift to proactive or reactive all the time. But then the other thing was he's just showing me, you know, it's like Elijah and Elisha, that he's raising up the Elishas, those that can see that those are greater. Because what's happening when darkness begins to grow, what happens, and we get these dreams, our mind is not renewed, then we become overwhelmed with the darkness. And right before I gave Randy a picture, and on the day before they did the Rise Austin Healing, I'm painting supernaturally now. It's all God. I don't know how to paint on my own. And I actually got people wanting to buy it. And God began to teach me, it's called the art of war. That through painting, music, sounds, we can counter the darkness. You know, and he says, well, our weapons of warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God for the pulling down of strongholds. He said, Richard, a carnal mind doesn't, I didn't say, what did he say? Richard, I didn't say they were not natural. I said they were not carnal. A natural mind, a carnal mind does not know how to use the natural things that God created to glorify Him. So if we begin to get on board and realize art, music, different things can shift the sounds and can shift things. And I can show this later, whoever comes around, but the picture, the vision I had the day before they started the conference, I saw a black heart. I saw it shattered by the light coming out. And so it was the glory. God says the cult spirit, the heart of darkness was being shattered and His glory would go forth. But as we get these strategies and partner with what He's saying and be proactive, not just, you know, I don't know if I'm making sense. In other words, if we don't do our part, even though He prophesied what's going to happen, it won't happen. As we partner, the heart of darkness will not grip. The enemy wants to let us know what he wants to do. And you're going to hear more and more prophetic. How many people are hearing all the doom and gloom stuff going on? You know, this and everything's going to fall apart. Well, some of that is they're hearing second heaven strategies. And if we begin to ask God whose strategy on Him, because Elisha saw the enemy. So a lot of these prophets are hearing what the enemy is wanting to do and prophesying as God. So if we begin to realize that, then we can still take those strategies and say, okay, something's in it, and counter it by faith. I just want to encourage you, you know, through this thing to speak life into us, because we do have the authority to break this thing.
It's the sun.
Well, there's been several of us are here this morning. We've been going out in the city and closing portals of death is what we've called them, portals of the darkness and opening the portals of light. And so we have a batch of those identified in the city, and several of us work with SRA people, so we know some of the sites where those sacrifices were made in the city. Some of the sites we've been to and prayed pretty seriously about. But it would be neat if anybody else is here that knows of a site to be able to circle in on those and to go out and pray for them, because I know that's part of our assignment. One of the words that we had over Luke 4:18 was that we would be used to go in and in the spirit realm and in the physical realm set people free from not only physical concentration camps, but spiritual concentration camps. So that's part of what we were doing. I was on a call yesterday morning, and just at the end of the call, a gal was talking about foxes coming into the state, and they had just had 2 young men that were taken from Texas. She's from San Antonio, so I assume it was from San Antonio, and they were brought up to Oklahoma, and some rites were done there over those 2 kids, and they were in really horrific shape. They had contacted Jay Swallow and broken some stuff off of them, but we know it's true, right? The good news is that Rodney Howard Brown was here this weekend, and the last figure I heard was that there were like either 1,400 or 1,600 decisions for Christ when they went out on the street. And so that's good news, and really good news. And the Transformation Weekend on November 12th, 13th, 14th, and then Randy Clark will be here that weekend, and we have been gathering the women in various areas, and particularly those 7 mountains, to interrupt the plans of the enemy on that level. One thing that really bothered me yesterday, I was at Camp Mabry, and went there because they're moving out our National Guard, and they're moving them to Iraq. And that really troubles me, because I see that as a major strategy of the enemy to move out our forces, and particularly this force, which has been used so amazingly in wars before. But they're moving them out of the state and over to Iraq. So it's one of those things to watch for, right?
Okay, thank you, Barbara. And so, yeah, please see her, or if you know of any sites or places that have been historically a place of darkness, ritual works, or be on the lookout for new things that are coming. There's a lot of new things that are really coming that are quite weird. I don't know if you know it, but most of the airports now in the United States are basically, underneath them are underground cities that can support 4,000 to 40,000 people. And so somebody's preparing for something, so, yeah, and all the tunnels that they connect them. Yeah, all over.
I mean, the last one done here is a 70-foot tunnel. What do we need a 70-foot tunnel in these roads for?
Yeah, 70-foot tunnel, yeah. And so the telltale sign is, like when my wife and I were in Redmond before we moved here, all of a sudden, like in about 4 days, these mountains appeared alongside the road. And I mean, like, probably 30 or 40 foot tall mountains of gravel and dirt, like for a mile long. And we're like, where'd all that dirt come from? And so anyway, then we began to investigate and found out that the airport there in Redmond and others are becoming developed into strategic underground cities for some events that are coming. Yeah, and Denver, I think it's most well known, isn't it? Yeah, real. Anyway, weird stuff, isn't it?